So all the points that fall on that slope line are going to have the same slope, okay, whether it's positive or negative. So some of the questions you guys are going to see, they're going to draw triangles on those slope lines. So if your triangles lay on the same slope line, then that means those triangles have the same slope. So say you have your graph here, and this is our positive slope, okay? So they might draw a tiny little triangle that looks like this. So that's a big triangle. And another one maybe that looks like this. So they'll put those two triangles on the same line. What you guys need to take away from it is if their longest side, if they share a side and they lay on the same slope line, then those two triangles are going to have the same slope. Okay? Same slope. On this first example, what we're going to do, they gave us these points, and since they gave us the points, that's what I'm going to use to find my slope. I'm going to use that y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So on my big triangle, I can use that point and that point. So I'm going to use -4, -4 and 5, and 0, 3. So I can find the slope of my big triangle, and I'm going to find the slope of the small one just to make sure that they're the same. Okay? So if I find the slope of my big triangle using that formula, I'm going to label those points. x1, y1, x2, y2. So y2 was 3, minus y1, which is 5. That's my top. And then on the bottom, x2 was 0, minus x1, which was -4. Okay, so when I solve for that, what's my slope going to be? 3 minus 5, -2, 0 minus -4, +4. Just to make sure that they do have the same slope on that same line, I'm going to find the slope of my small triangle now. So those 2 points I want to use are the 2 points on that triangle that lay on that slope line. So I'm going to ignore this one and this one, and I'm going to use 0, 3, and 2, 2. The same way. And I'm going to use that same formula. x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to plug those numbers in just to make sure I've got the same slope. Okay, so y2 is 2, minus y1, which is 3, over x2 minus x1. So x2 is 2, minus x1, which is 0. Okay, so 2 minus 3 is -1. 2 minus 0 is 2. So here are my two slopes for the big triangle and the small triangle. Are they the same?
Yes.
They're the same. In your calculator, if you're not sure how to reduce fractions and you want to make sure that they're the same, you can either divide, so -2 divided by 4, -1 divided by 2, see if you get the same decimal. Or in your calculator, alpha y equals, whatever fraction you put in, it'll automatically reduce it for you when you put alpha y equals in. Okay? But they'll both reduce down to be -1/2, so they're the same slope. So we proved ourselves. Okay, so if we're going to calculate, we want to figure out the slope of each triangle. We want to make sure they're the same. They should be the same since they're on the same line. But we want to check it. Since they give us a graph, The easy way to do it, since we're finding slope, and slope is the change in y over the change in x, or rise over run, vertical change over horizontal change, it's all the same. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at my smaller triangle, and I want to see what my slope is from point to point. So from Q to R, I'm going to go up 1. So I rise 1, so that's my vertical change. And I run to the next point over 2. So our slope for our small triangle is 1 over 2. So what about the slope for the bigger triangle? Going from R to S. What's your rise? 1, 2, 3? 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. So 1/2, the big one is 3/6. 3/6 will reduce down to 1/2, right? Yes. Is that true? Okay. So they have the same slope. This is true. Okay, just a couple more examples just to make sure we're good to go. For the big triangle, let's look at those 2 points. I want to find my rise, my vertical change, over my horizontal change, rise over run. So looking at that big triangle, if I go from point to point, how far am I rising?
1, 2, 3, 4.
So 4 is my rise. And then how far am I running? Over 2. So what does that reduce down to? 4 divided by 2 or 4 over 2?
2 over 1.
Good. 2 over 1 or just 2? So just to check, make sure that they do have the same slope, that we're right. I'm going to look at my smaller triangle. So my 2 points on the smaller triangle is what I want to look at and look and see what my rise is. So I rise up 2 and I run over 1. So they have the same slope, so we're good. They should have the same slope. If you're not sure if it's positive or negative, always start looking at the left side of the line. So if I look at the very far left of that line, and if it's going up and to the right, then it's going to be positive. If my line is going down when I'm looking at it, it's going to be negative. So keep that in mind when you get your worksheet. Okay, so last example. My big triangle, I'm going to look at points A and C because those are the same triangle and they're on the same line. I don't really care about B. I don't care about D. So let's see what our rise to our run is. So from A to C, 1, 2, 3, 4.
4 over 6.
4 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 4 over 6. And then my tiny triangle, up 2 over 1, 2, 3.
2/3.
2/3. So are these the same if I reduce 4, 6?
Yes.
Same slope.
Easy.
Make sure the only thing that's weird, like on your worksheets or on other graphs, these have all been really nice because if you look at your graph, they're going by ones, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Some of your graphs might be going by 2s. Some might be going by 5s. So just make sure that you can count your squares, but just be aware of what your graph is counting by because that could mess you up.